Okay, welcome to our very first deal of the infill deal of the week, an infill deal list call of the year. We took a little 2 week break because well, one, the holidays, but two, there just wasn't a whole lot coming new on the market. So we took a couple weeks break. We're back with a really good deal this week. And we'll get into that here in a few minutes. I'm just going to go over some of the details here of how our list works, and then also how you can get on it, and then also how our guarantee works. So the first is how you get on our deal list all the time. So we have realtors and investors that have full-time access to our list. The way you can get on there as a realtor is we have either in-person or recorded sessions on our infill development and building process. So that's parts 1 and 2. And then you can watch the replays of those as well. And then number 3 is we have a deal list Zoom call or recording that explains how the deal list works and how you kind of look at it or analyze it when you have access to it. Then we just have you sign an agreement stating that if you're going to use our strategies that you're suggesting with buyers, that you'll introduce us to your buyers early on in the process. And then another benefit that we offer realtors as well is we offer free marketing campaigns provided by us that you can co-brand with us to send out to your network as well. And then if you're an investor, so we have the same thing. We have parts 1, 2, and 3 that covers infill development, kind of what our strategy is here, our build process, and then also like how to look at the deal list when you have access to it. And then we just have you also sign on with sign a buyer's representative agreement with a sponsoring realtor. That realtor has to have access to our list as well. So if you don't already have a realtor that you're working with, we can refer you to one of our realtors that have gone through the training. Or if you have somebody that you're already working with, we just have them go through the training as well. And then we just have you sign an agreement. It's kind of like an NDA and non-compete for our services if you're using our strategies that we discuss in these calls and on the list. And then another part with that too is we charge a consulting fee at the purchase. That's basically partly how we make our money. So we take the time to set up this system and then identify the properties, and we charge a consulting fee that's due at closing. And how that works is we charge $15,000 for a lot split from 1 up to 4 units. And then it's $25,000 for a subdivision from 5 to 10 units. And then every unit after 10 units is an additional $2,000. And then the other ways that we make money too is through our entitlements process. So we do everything in-house. We're fully vertically integrated. So we do the entitlements project management. And basically, we just coordinate with all the different professionals and third-party services. We just charge you what they charge, and then we do an hourly rate on top of that for our time. And then we do the main way we make money is we basically are offering our general contracting services as the developer and then also as the builder on the vertical side. So that's the deal or the details for getting access to the deals and why we are offering this. And then I just wanted to cover we are guaranteed. So we have a 6 figures in 36 months or less infill deal offer with guarantees. And so this is kind of unheard of. I don't know of any builder out there that does any kind of guarantee outside of like the actual build. Or developer that basically gives you a guarantee on profit. So we have our profit guarantee. And basically the reason why we set this up is because we understand that an investor's mindset. We're investors ourselves. And also we understand that most people don't know anything about development. So, we understand that investors don't want to lose money on a bad deal. They're nervous about not knowing the process or about making a mistake. They're nervous about projects dragging on too long or contractors cutting corners. And then probably the biggest one is just not having any control or visibility on the project. So we built our offer specifically to eliminate those concerns. So with Matson Homes, you stay in control of your capital and the decisions while we do the heavy lifting. So there's a few core components of our offer. Number one is we offer expert deal underwriting. So we vet, analyze, and underwrite every infill deal on our list. So we're not just estimating numbers. We've done every step ourselves on our own projects, and know where costs and timelines can go wrong. We also offer and negotiation support between with you and your realtor and the listing, if it's a listing or even off market. We just know how to structure these deals and present offers to get them done. Then we offer step-by-step due diligence. So this is the big one where our fee comes in and our time. We basically have a 16 to 19 page due diligence checklist that we go through on every property once we get it under contract. So you're going to get a copy of that and you'll be able to follow along with us. So you'll never be left in the dark. So we're going to walk you through due diligence step by step. And then we're actually going to complete most of it for you. About 90% of it we actually do for you. And you just follow along. Number 4 is if there's an existing house, we can renovate that as well using our systems and trades and experience. And then number 5 is our entitlement management. So this is where we manage the entitlement process with the city and all the different agencies. And so we've been through the pitfalls. We know the building code. We know the planning and zoning code. We know how to minimize delays and keep projects moving along. And then number 6 is the horizontal development. So a lot of these projects need some kind of horizontal development. And what that is, roads, sidewalks, utility upgrades, that kind of thing. Most projects require some sort of horizontal infrastructure improvements, or if they're the medium-sized projects, sometimes you have to put all new infrastructure in. And then the 7th thing is the vertical construction. So that's kind of our where we our bread and butter, I guess, is, or where we come in primarily, is the vertical side. So we oversee every step of construction, and so we've kind of gotten our team together and our subs and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really smooth process. And then some of the bonuses we give you as well. So we're going to give you the ultimate guide, Introduction to Infill Development. That just kind of explains a lot of the basics about infill development and what to look for. Bonus offer number 2 is we're going to provide you with our due diligence checklist. So that's what I was talking about, that 16 to 19 page due diligence checklist that we do on every single project that's under contract. And then number 3 is, so before the end of due diligence, we're going to provide you with a 1-page underwriting worksheet that we base our guarantee on. And this basically just acts as the final go or no-go on the underwriting for you to base your final investment decision on. So at the end of the project, we're going to compare our results with the guaranteed underwriting worksheet. Number 4, so we're going to provide you with our entitlement process checklist and projected timelines. So this is basically just where during the entitlement process, you'll be able to kind of follow along and making sure everything is tracking. This part isn't necessarily guaranteed, but we have a good idea of like the timelines. And so you can just kind of have a rough idea of when things are supposed to happen. Number 5 is we're going to give you our complete construction process and inspection checklist. So that's with our new construction homes. We have our own inspection checklist. And then we also have part of that too, is we're going to provide you with a third-party new home inspection report. So at 4 key phases, we're going to have inspections done by a third party. That's going to be at framing and rough-ins, so you know what's behind the walls and what that looks like, and if there was any mistakes made, that we catch that before we cover it up. Then we're going to do a drywall, and then at interior and exterior finishes, and then the final inspection. Sometimes the final inspection ends up being 2 different inspection reports, because sometimes there's a few things that come up on that very final inspection that have to get touched up or whatever. So then we fix that stuff and then make sure it's a perfect house for you at the end. Number 7 is we're going to host a monthly progress call. So that's going to start actually at the end of this month, I believe, where we're going to review all the current projects for clients, and then any progress that was made, as well as any challenges that came up. And then individual projects, we can schedule further calls with individual investors as well. Now, this is going to be open to everybody. So if you already have a project, or you're just curious, the different stages of different projects that we already have going on, or if you're a prospective buyer or prospective investor in somebody else's project or whatever, just kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit on some of the challenges that we deal with, and then also some of the successes. And then bonus offer number 8, so we're going to provide you with our entitlements guarantee. So what we're going to say is that we're going to guarantee that if we don't achieve the unit count that we underwrite, we're going to waive our next fee or apply it towards the development costs. So what that means is if we look at a property and we say, okay, you can split 2 lots off of this property, we're going to guarantee that. And then if it comes down to it and you can only split 1 off when it's all said and done, we're going to waive our next fee on your next project, or we'll apply that fee towards the horizontal development costs or the building costs. Bonus offer number 9 is we provide you with our underwriting guarantee. This is the big one. This is our profit guarantee. So we guarantee that if the project doesn't meet at least 100% of the cash flow or profit projected at final underwriting, we're going to refund you up until it does. So that's up to $50,000 per deal, or on these medium-sized subdivisions of 5 or more units, it's going to be $20,000 per house, up to a maximum of $200,000. So we're just guaranteeing that our underwriting is going to meet at least 100% of the expectations we set at the beginning. And if it doesn't, we have skin in the game, and we're not going to make our profit as well. So we're kind of in the game with you. So your role in this, so you're making the big decisions. We do the heavy lifting. So again, you own the deal. You're providing the capital, you're buying the deal. We're just doing the work. And we're fully integrated. So we go through the entitlements, well, really starting at due diligence. So when you're under contract, we go through the due diligence, then the entitlements, then the horizontal and the vertical. And then our target is 6 figures in 36 months or less. Now, some of these deals, like if they're, medium-sized subdivisions, sometimes they can take a little longer, particularly if you're doing multiple phases. But typically on these, single lot splits, they're going to be less than 36 months. And then we also have multiple exit strategies for you as we go as well. So, if things change, whether in the economy or your situation, there's multiple exit strategies along the way. And then your protection, so you always have visibility into cost, timelines, and progress. And then along with that, the multiple exit strategies. And then again, with your return, you have the full ownership. So we only get paid when the deal performs. So our incentives are aligned with you. And then just why would you work with us? So number one is, we put together this system that, as far as I know, doesn't really exist in the country today. And we specialize in infill development. So we do small multifamily, like we have a deal today, and then ADUs, subdivisions, basically the exact strategies that cities like Boise are encouraging. And we've already figured out the business the hard way. So we've built the system so you don't have to. And our team has completed projects from single family flips to multi-unit developments, as well as held rentals. So we have the experience in every aspect of each of these deals. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the deal of the week here. Share screen. Okay. So our deal of the week. So this is a property that I actually own. So I kind of have discovered over the last 12 months, I'm going to focus more heavily on what I'm doing now with this Infill Deal List. And so I was originally going to keep this as a long-term investment, but essentially what it comes down to is I don't have the capacity to do it at this point. So we're going to basically offer it to another investor to run as a long-term or short-term rental. I'm going to go into the strategies here a little bit. But there's a couple different ways to make this really profitable. So now if we look at this, just covering like how we normally underwrite things, because this is a duplex, a lot of times you don't necessarily see the resale. Like if you're going to sell it, you're not really going to make a whole lot of money if you just build it and sell it right away. Now, this is profitable if you wanted to split it into 2 lots and build single family houses on each lot and ADUs particularly. It's a 6-figure deal that way. It just takes longer. So we have to do the subdivision process and then build. So it ends up being a 2 to 3 year process versus the strategy we're going to implement here is really geared towards somebody that wants to be a buy and hold investor. And you're still going to walk in with 6 figures of equity. It's just that the sales costs kind of eat into your profit if you sell it right away. But long term, as a long-term rental, and I'll explain the short-term rental here in a minute, it's a really good investment on that end of things. So the total capital required looks like it's going to be right at about 200,000. So that's 35% down on the purchase, and then covering the costs of the construction in the loan. And that's sorry, so it's 35% down on the purchase. You're paying for the entitlements out of pocket. There's a little bit of entitlement cost left. And then the construction loan interest. Now, if you're just doing this cash, you'd actually make a little bit more money on it too, because you wouldn't be paying that construction loan, but we always factor this in with construction loans. So if you look at this as just like a build it and sell it, it's not super profitable. Where we want to focus on here is the long-term rental strategy here, because it is actually a really good rental. I would compare it with anything else in town, especially new construction. So on this one, you can also refinance at the very end and get about a little over $100,000 back. If you do a DSCR loan at a 1.0 ratio. So you can get about $100,000 back. That basically means you don't really cash flow as a long-term rental. But if you're going to do it as a short-term rental, you would actually still cash flow, and you'd be in it for less than $100,000 out of pocket when it's all said and done. And so if you do that refinance, you still have about 240,000 in equity when it's all said and done, based on, I think, a 5.25 cap. So we're actually selling this under market value because it's a to be built. So it's not finished yet. So it takes a little bit of imagination, and we just are all about providing value to people. We're still going to make money on it, what we need to make on it. And we like to have win-win situations for our clients. This is what we have for a new construction likely monthly rent. So each of and I'll get into the floor plan, but each unit of the duplex is going to be 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. And then the rents comp out really well at 2,400. I'd say even like with new construction with the right design, that might be pushing 2,500 or so. But we try to get in there pretty conservatively. And then on a 2-bedroom ADU, that's going to be 2,000 a month in rent. So total 6,800. So one thing that we don't factor into this is any of your costs with that. That isn't factored into the NOI that we're going to talk about here a little bit later as well. So the 6,800 is just projected rents. We'll get into the NOI here when we pull that sheet up. Okay, and then this is the new construction payment based on the refinance costs. It's not based on pulling out money right here, so keep that in mind. So this would go up basically to right under 6,800 if you pull out the rest of this capital, and then you're not really going to cash flow on that. Now, this 630 still gives you a lot of room where you're actually going to cash flow, particularly if you're managing it yourself. But it still gives you room in there to pay a property manager. And this also includes taxes and insurance also. So, and then this is STR rental. This is straight from AirDNA. Now, the one thing I will say about this project is we actually built the ADU directly across the street, like literally looks right across the street. It's the matching house across the street. And we added on to an existing house, rebuilt a garage, and built a 1-bedroom ADU above that. And that property, it's called the Jasmine. If you look up the Jasmine Boise, I should have pulled up that website. But they are booked. Like last time I talked to them, I think their first year that they had that open, they had 3 vacant days the entire year. And I think they pulled in around 60,000. I think in my my underwriting sheets, I put 50,000 plus income because I don't have the exact numbers, but I know they're doing really, really well, and they're still really low vacancy on that. Now, once you get into 2 and 3 bedrooms, it's a little bit different game. But I think with this the point I was going to try to make is that on this air DNA data, they're looking at the entire market, and they're not necessarily looking at specific houses. It's kind of like when you go on Zillow and you get a Zestimate. Well, that Zestimate is based on like their algorithms, and it could be high, it could be low. But typically with AirDNA on your short-term rental, when you do new construction, if you design it as a short-term rental, you're going to be able to design it as more of an experience that's going to hit the higher end of those rental incomes, and also keep your vacancies low. So this data is probably pretty low. So like if you notice this, I mean, this is 2/3 of the income of that 1 bedroom across the street on each of these. So I think we can design these to be a lot better. The other thing too, I've talked to a couple short-term rental managers, and they've kind of expressed to me that there is a need for doing these like little communities, where you can basically rent out like large complexes, whether that's multi-homes, or really large Airbnb. So this actually gives you a lot of flexibility, where you ultimately you have 8 total bedrooms, and what is that, 7 bathrooms. And then you could also even design it with basically like maybe some private yards, but then also like one common open area, where you can basically just kind of design it as a compound from the very beginning. And that could be like a really cool experience for people. And it's a great location. We're going to get into the location here in a minute, but it's like literally 5 minutes from downtown. It's just west of downtown. It's right near Whitewater Park. It doesn't have, well, I guess technically it has direct access to Whitewater Park, but you have to go through the state property. You do have neighborhood access to Veterans Park, but it's really close to both those parks, really close to Whitewater. And then if they ever develop, it's basically on the other side of the Idaho Transportation Department building. And so if they ever end up selling that and developing it, that's going to be even better. We're not counting on that, but that would be great if they end up doing that. Okay, so we have in here, so it's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms each. These are the square footages that we have currently on the floor plans. So about 1,440 square foot each. We've gone through several iterations of floor plans trying to get these square footages super efficient, for both long-term and short-term rentals. So I think we found a great setup here where we're maximizing every square foot, so we're keeping the build costs low, but also not affecting the rents on the tail end. And then the existing house is 897 square feet. So the existing house is in pretty rough condition. It's fully gutted, but we plan on a full renovation. That's included in the costs on this project. And we're actually going to rip the roof off completely and put in some new trusses with vaulted ceilings, and then turn it into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, whereas right now it's just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. So this is our total construction cost. That includes the renovation of the existing house. And then this is the all-in cost for the land, entitlement, development, and construction costs. So just under $1 million. The value, if you plug it in the numbers at like a 5.25 cap, it comes out to about 1.2 million. Between 1.15, 1.2 million. A lot of that comes down to like how how you want to factor in expenses. But we factor in with this number, even that has a little bit of costs for tenant turnover, that kind of thing. And this is this cap rate, well, we'll get into that later, but the cap rate is based on long-term rents, not short-term. And then this is if you do the construction loan on the vertical, what we expect the construction loan cost to be at. So all in, you're at about 1050, and then out of a value of 1.2 million. So if you factor in all those costs, and then if you go to sell it, that's where we get this, is you end up just barely making a profit if you build it and sell it, but that's not what our strategy is for this particular property. It's more of a long-term hold as a short-term or midterm. Okay, so I'm going to cover the let's stop my share here. If I can find my I'm gonna go over just some of the floor plans and some of the design of it here. Okay, so this is the existing ADU. Now the existing ADU doesn't look like that, so that we're basically going to rip off the entire roof. The funny thing is this building is so old. It was originally built in, I want to say like 1930 or something, somewhere in there, like super early century, or turn of the last century. Um, so, and it was added on to sometime after that. So we're just, it just doesn't have like, a good roof, like roof lines or anything like that. So we're going to rip off the roof, put a new one. That's in the budget. We're also going to vault the ceilings. So they're higher ceilings. I think in there right now, it's just over 7 feet. And then basically replacing all the windows. It's basically just like a complete renovation, just keeping the skeleton of it and then replacing everything else. This is from the backyard. We have, we'll go over the floor plan, but this is into the mudroom, and then this would be from the primary suite here. And then this could be like either like a common, like a big common area for all the units, or just a really big private backyard for the ADU. This is kind of the fence line where this would be the backyard for one of the duplex units. This is the side view here. Okay, and then this is the site plan. Now this changed a little bit in this most recent iteration. So this right now, or previously this was a double driveway, but it's actually going to be two separate driveways. So one over here and then one over here. We are widening the street, so we'll actually be able to have street parking right here in the middle from the house. So on this property, you could actually theoretically park one in each garage, one in the driveway, and then one out front here. So 5 parking spots basically for this unit right on site here. So this is the existing shell of the house, sits at the back of the lot. So this was ideal because it already sat at the back of the lot. So we've already gotten approval to meet that it's grandfathered in for these reduced setbacks. So we've already gotten that approval. So now it's we just need to get permits basically. And then this is the duplex footprint. So when we originally designed this, when I was going through this, I actually designed this as a 3-story. I was having a really hard time making those numbers work as a 3-story. So we were able to get it really efficient on the floor plan to make all the bedrooms and bathrooms work so that all the numbers work out a lot better. Okay, so this is the current floor plan, what we have. So we have these garages on each one, and then we have, so you walk in, we have a powder room at the base of the stairs. This is the stairs to go upstairs. Underneath each stairs, we'll have closets. Those can be set up as either pantries or just coat closets. And then we have space for a dining room here, kitchen, and then living room. This would be a door to the private backyard space for this unit. And then this is unit 2, kind of the same thing, powder room going upstairs. We have room for a dining and living room and then a kitchen. We could do this with or without an island. The island kind of cramps the living room a little bit, but we could set it up in a different way as well. And then the single car garage. And then we have the upstairs of each unit. So these are each 3 bedrooms all upstairs. So if we go upstairs, you have a primary suite at the back of the house here, which will have its own attached bathroom with a walk-in closet. And then we're going to have a second bedroom in the middle here. This is the closet for that bedroom, and then this will share a bathroom. So we'll have a Jack and Jill bathroom for bedroom 2 and 3. So on this particular floor plan on this side, we actually have like kind of a separate powder room. So if somebody wants to, be, doing their night routine or whatever, in the sink, somebody from this bedroom can be in the shower, that kind of thing. So kind of functions better as a Jack and Jill that way. And then a dual vanity in this one as well. And then an extra large closet on this one on bedroom 3. And then on the second unit, we have, again, primary suite on the back with the same thing attached, ensuite with a walk-in closet. And then bedroom 2 we have here. So we actually, on this one, we actually show how we can like just tailor this a little bit if you want to build this as a short-term rental. So this can be, if this is a long-term rental, we just put closets here. If you do this as a short-term rental, we're going to basically put in like a spot here where you can put in a little desk working area. And then this will be like a much smaller, probably just open closet with one like shorter hanging shelf, because when you go and stay places at Airbnbs, like you might bring a couple hanging items, but you're not bringing your whole closet to hang up, so you don't need to waste the space for the closet. You can make it functional by putting desk space in there, and then you can still have the functional space as a closet here. And then same thing here, we're gonna have a Jack and Jill bathroom. You have a shower that's basically separated also. So if this person in this bedroom is taking a shower, this person can still use the bathroom portion of it here. And then both these units also have in-unit laundry here on each side. And then this one also has just a separate closet. So this is great for like cleaning supplies, that kind of thing. And then bedroom 3 again at the front of the house. And then same thing on this one. We have a little bit bigger spot for a desk here. Then same thing, we could have a bench here with just a shorter closet rod. And that would all be open. So kind of like when you go to a hotel, for example, they a lot of times have their desks in the room, and then also just like a simple open shelf for hanging stuff. So that's kind of how we designed this as an example. And then there's other things that we would do with the design too as a short-term rental versus long-term rental. I'm not going to get really in depth in that here today, but that is something we cover in our training. And then this is the ADU. So this would be the new floor plan. It doesn't currently look like this. It's similar. The bedroom is kind of right here, is right here. This was an old entryway, but this will be the living room, kitchen here with a peninsula, a little storage closet here, and then the mudroom out back with your laundry, and then we'll have a bench there. And then you go back to your primary suite with a decent sized closet here, and then double doors out to the patio back off to the side. And then the primary ensuite bath. So we have the dual vanities and a shower here. And then bedroom 2, same thing, has its own ensuite again attached. And then these are pretty good sized bedrooms. So this is roughly 12 by 12, 10 and a half by 12. So a little narrower, but deep. Then closet right here. So, and again, we can design these as short-term or long-term, both in the floor plans, making slight modifications, or on the actual design. And we will cover that as people are interested, what their goals are and like how we would design it. But the build costs would be basically the same either way. We would, if you do it as a short-term rental, we would increase the budget just slightly for some extra design elements. Okay. Get back into the list here and then just kind of show the location of this really quick. Okay, so as far as location goes, and there's the property next door is actually, it was for sale. I think it might it either got canceled or pending, but if somebody was really wanted to put together some kind of cool complex, the unit to the right here is actually has been an Airbnb in the past. I think they were renting it long term most recently, but it has been Airbnb. And it also sits at the back of the lot. So you could actually theoretically build another duplex up front here and have a really cool compound going. But getting into the map here. Oh, I have it already pulled up here. Do that. So, okay. So if I zoom out here a little bit, so this is this site, this project here. Again, I think that I don't think it's sold. I think it it went expired. So I imagine somebody could still buy that. This property here is the one that I built. So this is actually an old overhead. But we actually built an addition on right here and then rebuilt the garage with an ADU above. So so it's kind of a nice, fresh looking build. In fact, I was randomly driving down this street with somebody one time. They're like, "Oh, that's the best house on the street." They didn't even know it was my project, so it was kind of fun. Um, and then the existing house got a fresh paint job as well, so it looks nice. And then this project down at the end of the street also got sold over the summer. I had this on the list for a while. I'm not sure if this is getting developed or not. By the looks of the financing on it, probably not. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up, this is the Idaho Transportation Department. So long story with this, but essentially the city or the state, sorry, or Idaho Transportation Departments sold this off. It was under contract, and then our Congress canceled the sale. But then what happened most recently is the renovation. So this is nobody's in this right now. Nobody's actually working out of here because it got condemned. They had a big flood. So there's mold everywhere. Basically, what happened most recently is the renovation cost doubled. And so now it's basically in this like holding pattern, like is the state going to fund the renewed cost of this, or will they revert back to the sale? To me, this is prime redevelopment land. This would just be an amazing area if this could get redeveloped the way they were planning, and then that would be a bonus for this property. But as it is, you can actually get over to Whitewater Park. There's a gap in the fence here. You can go through here and then eventually walk along here and over into Whitewater Park, or just take the streets and sidewalks this way to Whitewater Park, and then Veterans Park is over here. So I think, oh, and then I was gonna go into just the numbers on this, how we calculated this. So the property value here, I put the property value in as what the cost is going to be. So basically $1 million purchase price, including all the construction, plus 60,000 in anticipated loan costs for the construction. So you're all in at $1,060,000. It's probably more like $1,050,000. But then we have a rent earning. So this is based on that rental projection and then minus expenses. So the nice thing with new construction is, you have minimal expenses for maintenance and repairs. You have minimal capex because everything's brand new for like the first 10 years or more. So this is probably even high. I don't imagine you're going to have much in the first year, and even the first year, any defects are covered by me as the builder anyway. And then you have property taxes, property management. This is based on a 7% fee. Some property managers charge more than that. We have contacts that do 7% management. And then insurance, and then vacancy cost at 3%. And that's even probably a little bit high. I think it's still around 2% in Boise for these type of units. But we have our calculated NOI at 64,000. So based on the expenses you have into it, that puts us at a cap rate of 6.05%. So to give you an idea, right now, if this was built and sold and it was all rented out, we could put this on the market at a 5.25 cap. And so if I put in, I'm not sure how this will look here. Yeah, so that's even still a good deal at 1.2 million at 5.35. I think it would actually sell for that. And as interest rates go down, typically you sell at lower cap rate as well. So if interest rates do indeed continue coming down, this is probably going to look better in a year when it's all finished even. And not only that, but we're also being pretty conservative on the rents. I think we can probably push that another 150 or so higher. And then this is again just going kind of doing the NOI there, getting those numbers. And then this was the DSCR loan. So this is where we calculated you can refinance out about 960,000 and be at a debt coverage ratio of 1. So typically on these smaller multifamilies, you can get down to 1 with a lot of lenders. On larger multifamily projects, you actually have to be at like 1.25, but a lot of these like 4 units and under, you can get to a coverage ratio of 1. So you can max out your cash back, and then you're just not going to cash flow really on the long-term rents. But if you're renting this as a short-term rental, basically it reduces your cash flow a little bit, but you get your cash back, most of your cash back, and then you can do it again in another year once it's built and sold. And you still maintain equity. So you still have, 240,000 in equity in that when it's all said and done. Okay. I'm going to briefly cover some of the stuff that's on the market. Now, basically the last 3 weeks, there really hasn't been much new on the market or really nothing too exciting. And so the last 2 weeks, we didn't have a call, partly because of the holidays, but basically mostly because there was nothing really new on the market that was, worthy of that we hadn't already covered, that was worthy of presenting. So we just kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit. And then still this week, we haven't seen anything. I think we'll start seeing, more and more deals come live as more, every year you kind of in January start seeing more and more stuff come on the market. And then, into the spring and everything, it'll be pretty active. But just wanted to get into this a little bit. So this was a deal of the week previously on Dorothy Avenue. This is pending now. Anybody that has access to this can go back and look at these. Like if it's red, it's pending. We have a couple of these deals where clients bought them, or we have one client pending on one of these. Not one of these, but one of our other ones. This one was an off-market deal. I'm not sure if it's available still or not. We looked at this a few different ways. The best way that we looked at it was this way. Still doesn't quite meet like what we like to see, which is 6 figures or more. I think honestly, realistically, if this went on the market, I think it would actually be a lower price. Just look at what comp sold for. But we actually looked at this as the house is sitting on a large lot, but in order to take advantage of it, we'd have to actually pick up the house and move it closer to the rear property line. So this was kind of a unique deal. We had somebody actually kind of interested in this, but it was just kind of not ideal. Subdivisions. So this one, trying to remember what this one was. This was a deal of the week. Oh yeah, a few weeks ago. This one went pending the same weekend, unfortunately. This was a fantastic deal. I missed out on that one. This one is still, or was still on the market. This is actually a 5-unit or adding 5 units to the subdivision. So if somebody's working with a little bit more capital or wants a little bit more out of it, it actually doesn't even take that much more capital because it has like the existing house. It just costs more. But the down payment, if you can get a traditional mortgage on it as a traditional investment loan on it, with 15% down. Now that could be depending on the lender. I know we have clients that have gotten 15% down on projects, but that might be 20% down, 25% down, so that might go up. But the profitability on here is really good. The location of here, it actually has really good. So this is what your profit is on each house. Just has great resale values in that location or that part of town. Now so we have 5 additional homes, but you actually lose money on the existing house, and that's primarily just because of the sales costs here. We also would probably say, in order to sell it more quickly on the tail end, we'd want you to put in a little bit of money into that house, maybe not right away to rent it. Or, maybe you do and rent it as an Airbnb and, get these, this rental income up more. So we could play around with what that looks like. But this 35,000 basically covers new paint, new fixtures, probably some new flooring. Not a whole renovation. The kitchen and bathrooms look pretty good. Basically just kind of like some lipstick on it, basically. Okay, we have also, I'm not gonna cover this one on Lata. We're actually working on a deal. I just kind of flashed the address there, but we're working on a deal on that one. Maybe we'll be able to present it next week. We'll see. Okay, so we have a couple others here too that we just haven't underwritten these ones, essentially because they're like a little bit more complicated with rezones on this one. This one, the part of town is just kind of difficult to develop stuff in. And I think I ran the rough numbers. Yeah, I ran the rough numbers on this one. This one, and you have a very slim profit margin on the houses, so we know that's not going to work. Basically, when I get to this point, I just don't finish filling out the rest of the numbers because it just doesn't make sense. Okay, and then we have vacant land. The best deals on this, so we still have some deals in Garden City. The best deals in here are in Garden City. I'm hugely high on Garden City. There's a couple decent deals, particularly if you have a client that has more capital that they're working with, because we can get into some more units. Like we have this one on 47th Street. I think that's a 9-unit. The way we have it laid out right now, we could potentially get a little bit higher than that, but that looks pretty good. And then we also had, there's one that, yeah, this one, no, not this one. Well, this one too. This one was actually a good deal. I have this underwritten on a separate sheet. That listing got canceled, but I know the listing agent. I'm pretty sure we could get it under contract still. But this was a pretty good profit. That was a deal of the week back on October 17th. What I was gonna say, so this one was also a good deal. This is, I think, our last deal of the week, and this has about a $500,000 profit on it. And this one just expired. So there could be a chance, an opportunity there to get that off market for a little bit more of a discount. So, if you have somebody interested, or if you're an agent that has somebody interested, there could be an opportunity now that we're not dealing with an actual listing to go in and get a better deal on it. What I will say about this 595 too, this was on the market at one point for 550. So, and that was, listed. So there, who knows, it could possibly push this down close to 500, who knows. But yeah, that's about all I want to cover today. I'm going to stop my recording and share here. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you're tuning in on
Can you hear me,
YouTube.
Zach?
Yep.
You can hear me?
Yep.